Happy Friday! I decided to share my new start with you today. I have held off all week and today's the big day. So I'm super excited. I've got all of my supplies here ready to go. I've got my scroll rods. I took off another project that was on here that actually, it's a long story. I'll tell you about it on Monday. So I've got scroll rods ready to go. Fabric is ironed and prepped. I've got my blue ribbon. This is a really handy little thing. Blue Ribbon Designs stitch starter. So I can measure my start in the corner of where I want to start stitching. Got all my DMCs ready to go. I'm not going to bother bobbinating them. I'm just going to keep them in an ocean's tote with this project. And this is the project that I'm starting today. Kooler Design, Oh Canada. Now clearly you can see that this is a really super long design, and judging from the width of my fabric and the width of my rods, you may have guessed by now that I am going to stitch this design sideways, which never bothers me one bit as long as you start the top direction of your leg going in one way and you make sure that everything's going the same way. I put my pattern sideways and I'm ready to go. So because this is a 32 count amber linen, and I know for a fact that I don't have 3 inches on this end. This was a somewhat of a remnant that I bought from Thread and I, and I know that it's slightly more narrow at this side than it is on the other side. And Kathy wrote on the tag when I purchased it that I have 2.5 inches on the top and the bottom, and 3 inches on each end. So in order to start my thing in the right direction, I'm going to use my stitch starter and be up 2.5 inches and 3 inches on the inside. So let's see if I can do this with one hand here so that you can see what I mean. So that's going to be a 2-inch, wait, that's not right, there. So I know if I place it like that, I know that right there is 2 inches. So I know that I'll want 2.5 inches up, but I can go a full 3 inches in. So my starting point is going to be right there, and that's going to be the bottom left-hand corner of my design. But because I'm stitching it sideways, I will be starting at the top right. So where I make my start, well, actually I guess I could start here. Doesn't really matter. I could work right to left or left to right. So I have some number 20 crochet cotton. You know, I have a bunch of this, so this is what I like to use to attach the fabric to the scroll rods, and I think that it makes a nice secure sewn on edge. So I'm going to pause the video while I go ahead and do that, as I definitely need 2 hands for that. The only thing that I make sure is I try to, if I'm not too impatient, try to take my time and make sure that it's as straight as possible along my edge. So I'll be back in a minute and we'll get started. Okay, one more thing before we get started. I thought I would get a little bit fancy today, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. So I am going to one-up my organization of this whip, and I am going to make thread tags for the floss as I go. So as I use the colors, I'll make a new floss tag. I have one of those rings. I have a couple of those rings around here somewhere. I don't know. I can't put my hand on them right now. And if I don't get started with this, I'm never going to have video up by 6 o'clock. So I'm just starting with the first 4 colors that I'm going to be working with. These are the colors that are in the border where I'm going to begin. And so I've got 4 tags ready to go for my floss, and I'm going to feel super organized. So I'll see you in a minute. Ready to, oh, I guess you might want to know. I used a 3 7/32 of an inch as the large tag, and then it's a 3/4 of an inch, I'm pretty sure. Oh, 5/8, excuse me, 5/8 of an inch. Small little thing, and I've just got a regular old hole punch for the top. And then I just have to find my O-rings to put them together. Okay, so I'm gonna take care of these 4 DMC and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I think I'm ready to go. I have taken my other project off my floor frame, which was my ABC sampler houses, and I will be putting that back on right after I'm done filming this video, because my plan is to try and finish that, the FGH house. I'm going to try and finish that tonight while we stitch together. And then when that is done, I will probably put this back so that I can see a little bit more progress on it. So I've left this, I haven't quite finished tightening this up yet because I thought I'd just show you how I attached it to the scroll rod, and I'm quite pleased with how straight it is. It's quite a narrow piece of fabric, so you know, one can hope that this might not take that long, but it's a pretty substantial piece. It's not a small one, so I can be as optimistic about this as I'd like, but I still think it's going to take me a little while. But it's so beautiful. I really, really love this piece. So again, Kooler Design Studio and Canada. Doesn't get any simpler than that. So I prepared my first 4 flosses on my cute little tags. Now, I think if I were to do this again, I'd probably get, oh, did you see my new friend? Look at that. I have a compression glove that I bought. And today is actually going to be the first day that I'm trying it out with stitching. It feels pretty darn good. So I am going to try stitching two-handed because I've been taking it really easy. My thumb is feeling pretty good. So with the compression mitten, I'm going to try stitching two-handed and see how it goes today. I can always switch back to one hand if it starts to at all feel uncomfortable. So I've got my first 4 colors for the border ready to go. As a reminder, I am stitching this sideways. So I'm going to start in the top left corner, which for me will be the bottom right. And I will always be stitching this piece in this orientation, so I never have to worry that my top leg is going to be going a different way. And I don't worry that it is different from how my top leg would be if I were to stitch it this way around. That doesn't bother me because I will, you know, when it's framed and on the wall, I won't really remember or notice that, you know, 15, 20 years down the road. So as long as I keep it always in the same orientation, and because of the way I've attached it to the scroll rods, it will remain thus so. I'm not concerned about the top leg of my stitches. So I'm gonna just, as you can see, I've taken out 4 lengths to get started here for what I plan on stitching during this video, so that I didn't have to fiddle too much with the floss tags while we're chatting. So just a quick word about what I did. I opened up the skein of DMC and I pre-cut these to 24-inch lengths. Basically it's 2 loops around. If you take 1 loop off, 2 loops off, that's about 24 inches. And then I put them together and then did my little knot. And then what you can do is you can very easily then go to the back of your little loop. You can just grab onto one of those 6-strand lengths. And if you take a hold of that, and then you can just pull that right out, and there's your next length to stitch from, and they're all ready to go. Yes, it's a little bit time consuming, but no more so than bobbinating, I think. And when you bobbinate, your lengths for sure are not pre-cut. So 24 inches is probably a little bit long for some people. I think most people probably prefer about 18 inches. However, when I stitch with 2 strands of DMC on a project like this, I fold the thread in half and I have my needle in the middle. So effectively my needle is kind of somewhat trapped in the middle. However, I've talked about that on here before many times. So aren't those colors beautiful? Very, very naturey. I love it. Okay, so time to find my first. I thought I was ready here. So the first, and of course there's only about 8 stitches in each color in this bottom corner. So 3012 is the first one. I think that's the sort of greenish, gray, yellowish green here. So I always take my length of 6. If you tap the top, they kind of splay out at the top, and then I'll just take the one that I need, hold it in the other hand, pull that length out, and then still holding it, you can easily smooth that back out. And the needle that I have marking my spot, that is not the needle I'm going to be stitching with. I just used it to, after I did my measurement with the stitch starter tool, I had an extra, this is the one that I used to sew on my, onto my scroll rods. This is a bit thick of a needle. I have a feeling this is either a 22 or a 24, and I like to stitch with a 20. It's probably a 24 or 26. I just feel that they're really big. So to me, it's like, oh, that's a 20. It's probably, if I'm honest, it's probably a 24. Okay, so I'm going to just tighten this up a little bit, get my tension a little bit tighter there. That feels pretty good. Okay, and now my needle minder with my spare needles on it that I was using earlier today, and I have a new little needle minder just for my project here. So there we go, my little bird. .3012, and actually I think to start this one I'm going to do that sort of, it's not the loop start that people talk about when they start from the front. I cannot start stitching from the front of the project. I can't visualize it. I don't understand how it works. I need someone to slowly and carefully show me in person how they do it, because I am just so used to flipping my project over and seeing it from the back. Okay, so I'm not actually sure that my first stitch is right in the corner there, so I better check. Well, that's interesting. There is a bunch of space. So, okay, so I'm going to assume that the edge of the box of 10 is going to be my outer border. So that means I've got to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches from my mark, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 7 blank stitches. Get rid of that. And this is going to be where we begin. Okay, so to start off this time, I've got, whoopsie, there we go. I've got this loop now in the back. So I fibbed before when I said I was going to trap my needle. I'm going to do that moving forward. But to start off in the very corner here, I'm going to put that needle through that loop and secure it that way. So that way I've got, it's on the back and I don't have to do a pin stitch or any other, sorry, my frame keeps knocking the camera holder there. Okay, so there we go. First stitch. And we're going to be doing 1, 2, 3. Hopefully this will show up. I am most definitely not using the called for fabric. Out of curiosity, I think I'm going to check. Oh, and see. Okay, time to use the other hand. Well, there's definitely not as much manipulation, which I know is to be expected. It feels a little slow. Feels a little hard to describe. You know, the first time you do anything that's brand new feels a little strange. So I'm sure I'll get used to it. But I certainly can't, the fine motor control with this is definitely going to take some getting used to. So that's interesting. All right, and then we go is that right? No, it's here instead. There we go. All right, so I was mentioning what was the called for fabric. Let's have a peek and find out. Calls for 14 count wheat straw Ada. Wheat straw Ada. Never heard of it. But it's clearly yellow, as you can see. So mine is on amber. Okay. Here we go. I'm not sure that I love having this glove on to stitch. However, considering it does feel like the pain, there's no pain. Not that there was pain before, it was more of a discomfort within, 10 minutes or so. Now, I realize I haven't been stitching for 10 minutes, but I don't even have that feeling that I would get right when I would start, where you could feel it kind of just giving a little complaint. Just a little, I'm not so sure about that right in here. And I'm not feeling that at all. So I think I may just have to stick with it and learn to appreciate the difference. I'm sure I will speed up eventually. And it's not that it is actually a whole lot slower. It's just that it feels slower. You know how when you get very, very comfortable with how something feels, like a size 28 needle versus a size 26 needle, there's such a little teeny tiny infinitesimal difference. But when I hold a size 26 needle, it can feel a little bit like a broomstick because it's not what you're used to. Okay, now believe it or not, I only have to do one more stitch in this color, and then I move on to the next color. Now I have to be honest, and again, I did not go into the comments today for this video. I apologize. I'm certainly missing Kyle's question today. Hopefully you guys will wait another week. If there was anything madly important that I missed in the comments, I will make sure that I talk about it next Friday. I do know for a fact that the discussion that we had last time about fabrics, ironing wrinkled fabrics that are hand dyed, ironing and washing them. And someone reminded me about a really great video that's out there on Donna Ray Barrow's channel. Donna Ray is Flannel Jammies Farms. She did a wonderful interview with Pat of R&R Reproduction Fabrics, all about ironing. And towards the end of the video, she also discusses washing. And I believe in the comment that the person left me last week, they actually even gave the timestamp for when that discussion happens in the video. Really great information. So if you were following along with that conversation last week about treatment of washing and preparing fabric, either for ironing or framing purposes, I do highly recommend that video. It was a while ago now. I watched it right after it first came out, and I do remember being super impressed. But you know how sometimes when you watch something that doesn't immediately apply to anything in your life, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. And I remember putting that video on and highly enjoying the fact that it was a conversation about, things that I love to do, but I wasn't really paying attention for specific advice. It was more like, oh, that's really beautiful fabric. I have a real, affinity with R&R Reproductions fabrics because it's gorgeous stuff. Okay, next up, 3363. 3363 is going to be our next color. That is the next green, and I believe, yeah, it's this one right here. 3363. One stitch here, one stitch there. This is a tough one to do for stitch with me purposes because, well, I'm probably hardly going to get any stitches done by the time we're done this conversation. However, I'm going to finish the next layer here, and then we'll see what our time is like, because I have a few other things that I trust me, I'd rather be sitting here talking to you, but there are a few other things that I have to take care of today, this afternoon, before I can relax with my stitching tonight. And one of those things is that I have to go on the treadmill. I was going to do it this morning, and then you know what happens? Time gets away from you. I didn't get up when the alarm told me to get off. That was my first mistake. My family is away at the moment, and so other than the dog needing me to let her out, and she wasn't complaining, and I didn't hear her complain, so I slept in a little bit today. So I did not get my 30 minutes of activity in yet, so I am going to ensure that I get that done before I sit down to stitch tonight. And I have a few other chores and errands and things like that. So it's after 3 o'clock now. It's time just flew today. It just flew. Okay, so I think I'm gonna travel with this one. I'm gonna do one leg at a time all the way down and then come back. There we go. So I have spoken a couple of these Friday videos, and I mentioned it at the very end of Monday's FlossTube video, but I have spoken about it a little more in depth here on these Friday videos because these are a little more chatty, a little more personal. So I had mentioned before that I was thinking of starting a secondary channel where I used that channel as motivation for myself to work on building, developing healthy habits. And I did it. I started another channel. Started it last week. It's been up for a week already, and it was a little nerve-wracking to hit that publish button, but I'm starting to. Oh, you know what I said I was going to do? I said I was going to do one leg at a time, and then I totally didn't do it. So, oh well. Just have to. I'm gonna tack down my thread in the back. That's a. There we go. So I did start the channel. It's called 8 Glasses a Day. I will leave a link in the drop-down box below in case you're interested. And I will tell you, I'll be very upfront. It's very boring. It's dull. It's just a daily video. Hello from me, mostly to keep myself motivated. You know, it's accountable, more accountable than motivated, because the motivation is going to come and go. You know, I'm only a week in, so it's still new and fresh and exciting. But, 1 year into it, it's going to be like, oh, here we are again, same old, same old. But I think that's what's really going to be the key for me in making it habit. It's going to be, it's boring, but I'm still showing up. I'm still making those choices that will ensure that I feel better when I turn 50, better than I felt when I turned 40. So I'm right in the middle. I am almost 45 this summer. And when I started a week ago, I asked Siri how many days were left until I turned 50. And she told me my number was 1,892. So that's my plan. So if you're interested in that channel, that's the only reason I'm mentioning it here. We do have, there are some really, there's a lot of encouragement happening in the comment fields, but that goes both ways. Those lovely people that are commenting, and it's very encouraging, and it's nice to feel like you're not alone all the time, working on choosing water over coffee. For me, my coffee consumption I'm going to say it has halved. I've cut my coffee consumption in half. And for me, and I'm not even feeling like I don't have a headache. I'm feeling pretty good. My skin is starting to feel a little better, a little less dry, but that could also be the fact that we're coming out of winter. That always helps too. But, choosing fruits and vegetables instead of, something much less healthy, it's all good. So anyways, I probably won't talk about it again. Not everybody's interested, but I just thought I would mention it because we talked about it before, and that's probably the last you'll hear about it from me. Okay, so let's see. That's all of that color. So this, once I get into the border proper, it'll be a little more, I'll be able to go a little further with the length. You can see, and these are all the same. These are all the same. So it's like few stitches, few stitches, few stitches, and then I can get going on that border there. So next up is the dark green, which is 319. I love 319. Don't you? 319 is it's such a beautiful green. Look at that green. There, is it showing up properly? Oh, it's such a pretty, pretty green. Oh, 319. You ever do that? You see something, you're like, oh yeah, I know the DMC number for that. Or you try to describe something and you're like, well, it's more of a 951 than a 952. Speaking of 951, I went to Stitch It Central this morning. Yes, I did. I had to go and pick up Sarah's prom dress from a shop that was way across town. And oh, her dress is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I will not be showing you a picture, but I'll describe it a little bit maybe next week. It's a beautiful, beautiful dress. It's black. She went with a black dress. And I had to go and pick it up. So we still have to arrange to have the alterations done. But anyways, that shop is down in the south end of the city, which, you know, practically takes me right past Stitch It Central's door. And the owner, Maria, had called me yesterday and told me that something I had ordered had come in. And I'm going to leave you in suspense until Monday when I show you what came in. Because, well, then I can show you properly. It'll be a surprise. And, you know, a few other things may have come home along with it for the ride. Because, you know, I had to make the trip worthwhile. Would have been foolish not to. Okay, now I think I'm at the end of this where I attached my threads. So I think I'll start here. There we go. Oh, look at that green. That's a beautiful green. There we go. Oh, you know what? My family is calling. So I will be right back. Back in a minute. I'm back. I was, you know, that's the miracle of technology. I was gone for about 20 minutes. My family called, they FaceTimed me, and today is my daughter Sarah's 18th birthday. So we were able to FaceTime. My husband has taken them over to Italy to visit my sister-in-law and various cousins over there. So I'm just moving my light. And so when he booked the trip, after I got the dates, I said, oh, you know, she's turning 18 when you're over there. And we're the type of family that we will celebrate anytime. So we're going to have another family celebration with my father-in-law back here in Canada after they return. But they were able to FaceTime me while they were having their special dinner for her over there. And I got to join in singing happy birthday. John held up the phone and I was able to sing happy birthday, and I got to watch her blow out her candles, and I got to watch her open her gifts and sort of be part of the celebration. So that's pretty amazing to think that they're all the way over in Italy and I was able to still sing my little girl happy birthday. So pretty amazing. All right, just, you know, I'm just going to finish up this last bit of green. And then I will go and quickly cobble this video together. I think I'm running out of time to get some of the errands that I had to do today done. They may have to be shifted to tomorrow so that I can make sure I get myself on that treadmill. Because tonight, Friday night, 6 o'clock, I would really like to be in my stitching chair for the remainder of the evening. And hopefully, when I come to see you again on Monday, I will have a finish. So I think I'm really liking the compression glove. I'm certainly not feeling much of anything in my thumb. in a good way. And almost got this first little guy sorted out. 2 more stitches. And with that, I have my first Stitch Mania new start. Only took me until the 10th of May, but look at that. I have a brand new start. And I'm pretty pleased. Whoops. Pretty pleased with that. All right. There we go. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Keep knocking you around with the camera there. That's better. Okay, so there's my little start, my little tiny start. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy stitching. And I will see you on Monday for Monday Floss Tube. Enjoy your stitching.